Hi, I'm Feroz Khan, and welcome to Drag and Drop Low Code Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the game-changing impact of low code in software development. Join me in insightful conversations with IT leaders and passionate low code enthusiasts who are at the forefront of this digital evolution. Together, we'll explore how early adoption of low code is giving businesses a competitive edge on a global scale. We'll discuss its impact on software development, dissect its role in transforming businesses, and uncover the ways in which it's reshaping career trajectories. So whether you're a seasoned IT professional or a curious enthusiast, be sure to tune in as we share success stories and unravel the mysteries of low code. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a front row seat to the revolution that's shaping the future of technology. So let's go. Hi Helena, how are you?
Hi, and you,
I'm
Feroz.
good, thank you. Thank you for taking part and being a guest.
Thank you. That's my honor because you're the star.
No,
I
no.
love your podcast because you go a little bit beyond what low code is about, and we gain insights from all the perspective, business, dev, and somehow we can gain other perspectives that we don't have in our day to day. And for me, it's an honor to be here.
Amazing, I appreciate it. And obviously, you were on my radar anyway, but Andrea Tushidas was like, why have you
Yeah.
not interviewed her yet? So we're here now, so which is great. So no, it's a pleasure to have you. It'd be good to start with a little introduction to yourself for those who may not know who you are.
So I'm Helena Lameiro. I'm Portuguese. My background, I'm a pharmacist from education. I had a university in pharmaceutical sciences, and I started with research and also with community pharmacy for more than 15 years. So that was my life. I had a previous life. And from 2018, I've been an OutSystems developer, and I'm now a tech lead. I'm leading a team of developers, mainly in the insurance sector. And I'm working for NTT Data, which is an consultancy, big company in IT consultancy. So I don't have a past in IT before OutSystems, so my career was all done in OutSystems, and nowadays I'm doing everything from the scenes developing, leading the team, and I've also have a little bit of my one foot in the business side. So I think that's the way of having two lives, is to to combine both experience.
And you obviously, said, you're a pharmacist for 15 years. What was the kind of reason for the change, the switch?
Yeah, I was not a perfect pharmacist because I started with research.
Yeah.
So I started with developing vaccines, adenovirus vaccines that went for COVID.
Yeah.
I was on that beginning at the time. I was starting with developing with the biophysical point of view, with developing with viruses and all this stuff. I was working with this for a lot of years. And at the same time as I was starting doing part-times with community pharmacy. And at the end, we had Troika, so public funding and stuff was cut by a lot. And I had to work on private sector with community pharmacy for more than 8 years, I would say. But then I had a problem. I had to do a surgery on my cervical, my backbone. And at that time, your world starts to round because, okay, I cannot depend 100% of my body.
Yeah.
And since I had that my feet on some kind of research data experience, and I had some friends and even customers working on OutSystems, that feeling about coding was something that was nurturing at that time. Before that, my brother was doing an MBA, and his MBA theme was about creating an enterprise to convert people to developer, because at that time there was a lot of lack of of .NET developers.
Yeah.
And he saw his sister at that time as a good buyer, a good testing experience, and he offered me at my birthday as a birthday present several .NET courses for me to learn and to see how far I could go with this.
Yeah.
So the teaser was there. Okay, so I started to live there, but I didn't have time to manage with shifts and stuff. You are a pharmacy, you didn't have time to think about this. Being on the bed after a surgery was something very, very disruptive. So, okay, let us try. I will give me something like 6 months for me to change my career. If it works, let's go, because I really like it. If not, I will come back and we'll manage some way to go back to pharmacy. And after that, I started with a reskilling course, an upskilling at that time, with ITF. And I think you know some of the people, because some of the people that worked with that do also that kind of training were with me. And it was some sort of a Big Brother kind of contest. You had to prove every week that you deserve to be on that training.
Oh,
otherwise,
wow. Okay, you're out.
Otherwise, you won't. So you had to do your best to comply and to learn as fast and to be and people will start to evaluate you if you're really gonna be a developer or not in OutSystems after 2 months, something like that. So it was very, I would say, cutting edge, because we were on the line, on the really edge, trying to be evaluated every week. And we had demos, we had to make small projects, we had to do a lot of stuff, and it was very, very, very. And we were all girls at the end. So men were the first to go off.
Kicked out.
And it was very a lot of strongens on that class at that time. We were mostly girls. I had to take one of the girls to the hospital on the day of the demo. We could do it with her. We'd come back, and it was very, very emotive. But at the end of the day, we survived. And I think it was the most extreme experience that I had in my life, because I don't have children, so I cannot say it about this. At that time, being evaluated every week and to know, okay, you will be dispensed, you will be discarded if you don't comply. It's not a very valuable thing. If you look at back, you look back to see, oh, but it's not so much. But at that time, it was very emotive. Then the only thing that I had at that time is, if you go until the end, the company would give us a position in some of the clients that they had. One of the clients was NTT Data, and I'm there since 1918. So so much so good.
It's even though it was a bit of a struggle, it's good that you stuck to it, because what we find from our experience, obviously you had that reassurance that if you were to complete, you would be placed with a customer, where we tend to find, especially people who reskill, come from a different background, if they get certified and they learn the platform, getting that first job is still very difficult, right? So it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
And you have and even for the recruitment market, not having that experience, it's all or nothing. Either you have experience or you don't have, and without their experience, they will not bet on you. That's something very, very hard. And what we are looking at now, I think the model that we had was good, because you really had to be good to go until the end. And maybe some people that are not very emotionally stable or persistent or not very focused could be lost on the time. And that was something that could maybe but it is very, it's very risky for someone to invest in you if you don't have worth. So there are two plates. in my company nowadays, we have some kind of a program, which is how do we say, which is combined with the state, with the social security, and also with some universities to give some kind of a formation and to invest them to have some kind of a traineeship in the company. And what I see there, that you have those kind of pains that we have shortly, week after week, people are suffering more at the end because they only have the feedback at the end. And there are people that are being lost because they were not following up on you should do this, on you should comply more. And that kind of shortened feedback that models you, that tells you brings you into a developer has to be very consistent. And this is something that is missing on that program, for instance.
I think especially with, I think constant feedback is what you need because, even though I don't agree with the cutting every week kind of process, I think, if that feedback is there, someone should be allowed to rectify a mistake because that's what makes a better developer, right? Learning from errors you've made.
You have to have space to do things wrong. And if you do things wrong and you are not having feedback in the adequate time, you will do things wrong, and the things get bigger instead of getting middle, and you cannot correct your shot. So I would say that you should have more a more tightened follow-up in the beginning.
Stay on top of things.
Stay on top of things. Motivation also, when you are doing things and you know that you'll only have one evaluation after 1 month or 2 months, without someone looking at you, you will lose motivation at the end. Starting to learn or starting to do something that is very different from what you were doing before. It's something very hard to do without having a tighten overview and something on the beginning.
And I think also what that can do is if it doesn't go well, it kind of leaves the individual in a spot that, I've just made this big change
and for nothing.
For nothing. I regret it, where if you've got that, and then that can obviously cause people to either go back to what they were doing or just think, maybe this is not for me. I need to do something else, right? So I think with the constant feedback, it gives that person the best opportunity to build a career in that new skill set.
Exactly. And also to know what to focus on the right thing.
Yeah. And, as someone who obviously, like you said, has no IT background and, OutSystems, other platforms all say, obviously it is, people with non-IT can pick it up, but it's more suited to people with IT background, who have that understanding. What's your kind of personal opinion on that, where, who's someone who's not IT kind of trained, how have you found when you started, working with NTT, you were placed on projects, did you feel, how did you kind of, because obviously you'll be working with developers who may have an IT background. So what did you do to kind of make sure, you can sit at that table, if you get what I mean?
I would say that first question is what kind of IT background do you have? Because sometimes we have people that have they are self-learner and they have an IT background very strong because they have that kind of commitment to do things. And then you have something that only follows the rule, only delivers the project that we're asked to, and they don't go behind they don't go over what they were asked to. So I would say that it will depend of kind of it should be better for people having an IT background, and the learning curve is way faster. So people will adapt because no low code in OutSystems, it's not something that people don't understand if they have a background. So for Java or .NET is quite easier because you are eating your same food. And you have a visual interface. For people coming from .NET, it's almost magic. People, you are seeing, it's almost like, I don't know, I have a correspondence which is about religion. How do you describe a god in code? Okay, but no, you have an image of code, and some religions have an image or not.
Of course.
to relate to a god. If they have an image, for them it's easier. And for us to code, to have something with an image, for us it's easier to understand where the code is, and to understand it's visual, it's more impactful, and you can do the things. Okay. So for people on .NET, which the language is exactly the same, but they have a representation of their god, they will recognize where the things are. So, but for other kind of, for Java, when they are kind of mess up for the same concept, they have 3 different kind of classes, objects, whatsoever. They might complicate a little bit. They have a tiny adjustment phase, but then it's always fast.
It's fine. Yeah.
Fast. And for the other, the what happens is sometimes the perspective that you have for your own code. If you value more the code than to value the business. And I think that people coming from other backgrounds have the business always in mind. Because if they came from an area with, okay, I was a pharmacist, or from research, I had a purpose doing things. I was in a pharmacy, I had a customer, I had to understand their needs. So that kind of IT is a service. Whenever you can do, it should serve someone. Okay, so if you don't value your code over what you need to serve that people, and sometimes we feel that the code is not like that, you should not do that, but you don't serve the people, you can have some kind of discussions, and that's the thing that I found out, and we have to understand their point of view too, and to manage in some way to have some commitment on both sides.
And as you know, someone who kind of, didn't have the background, and what would be your kind of, advice to people who, who are kind of considering, switching careers, what would be your, outside of these boot camps, obviously it's about what you put in yourself as an individual as well to become a better developer. What advice would you give to those people if, that are considering doing a similar journey to yourself?
I would say that, and that's what I'm doing mentoring to in NTT, and I have a lot of people that has this kind of, I'm doing by myself, or I'm doing that kind of journey. I would say that sometimes the problem is not learning. It's the boundary between your learning stage into an effective position in a company. If you can have something that can manage that transition, it would be better. In Portugal, we have those kind of upskilling process. And that's what I recommend if you're in Portugal, is to, if you have to do, even you have to manage, because not of the things are the best. You cannot have the best of 2 worlds. And maybe you have to pay, or to have some kind of condition in a training, or to have some kind of a lower income for some months, because no one will pay you what an expert position will do at the beginning. So there's a risk there, and you will have to admit this risk at the beginning. So to comply with something that gives you a good training, and then to have that kind of boundary contracting, a traineeship, a program of entering in a company, and a training company. There are some companies that have training phases, or to manage with something more official, because that boundaries has a cost, because it has a risk. And people will not invest in you now. I would say that a few years ago, when the lack of developers were much higher, they were taking more the risk. The risk taking was more prone to happen. Nowadays, you have several variables on the plate, and to have that kind of boundary, it's the best decision.
And I think sometimes it's worth paying for the training if it means at the end of it you've got commitment for work, that even if the work's short term, it's experience on your CV that you wouldn't have, right? Which can kind of set you above many people in that aspect. Because even when we speak to people, we say, if you can, the main thing is, certifications are great, but you need experience.
You need experience. And even for IT people, people coming from IT people, from IT courses, and and some of them from the best companies, from best universities, they have that struggle when they enter into market. There's a big before and after gaining experience. And
Yeah.
that's the big issue. My first tech lead was a girl too.
Yeah.
And she said she took her university degree in a small town, which is not far away from here, which is
Yeah.
Leiria.
Yeah.
And she says that when she took she finished her degree, and she was from IT.
Mm.
She had to send the email CVs for a lot of places to be accepted, and there was some kind of a lag time for her in that time that she thought it was a lot of time.
Yeah.
And she said that after being putting on her LinkedIn that she was hired, everyone wanted to hire that
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what was the difference?
Yeah.
It's only a position.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's something at that time they had a lot of requirements for IT
Yeah.
positions. The experience is key. People
Yeah.
is someone took the risk, and it is not the company that will hire. So now it can go away without
Yeah.
having that hurdle
Yeah.
of our arms. That's a little frightening, but that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it also comes down to, like I said earlier about, what else, even once you've got that job, what extra things you can do to make, keep learning, like I learned about you. Obviously, we discussed this in our previous call, about, you join user groups, on the other side of the world, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, and actually, and pandemic,
Yeah.
I was joining the user groups in Lisbon because it
Yeah.
is the nearest user
Yeah.
group near my town,
Yeah.
and I belonged. And at that time, I lived in Lisbon, so for me it was okay. If I'm learning OutSystems, if I'm working with, that's my tool. And
Yeah.
if there's an event from time to time in my town talking about what they are doing new or
Yeah.
what they can do on the platform, why cannot attend?
Yeah. Sure.
And I think this came a little bit from my background of research. Okay,
Yeah.
any researcher on the morning will open his email and look at some nature whatsoever, biggest
Yeah.
package and of that, and look at the talk alert to be aware of what is new on his field. So that's a sort of a routine that every
Yeah.
researcher, if they want to be on the field, to be on the front line,
Yeah.
they will just take a look about something new that is happening on this field. And so they
Yeah.
have the kind of top table of contents of the
Yeah.
biggest Mac publications being sent to their email, and they will see. They can follow people of the same degree, and they will have those alerts to see, oh, people that is doing the same as me is
Yeah.
doing something else, and they will comply with their peers, with their work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something that I missed when I went to the and even for a pharmacy, you had to know what were the new drugs, because you could
Yeah.
receive
You
a
have to be up to
receipt.
date.
You
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
up to
Yeah.
date. There's a patient on your ward. You have to
Yeah. Yeah.
be
Yeah.
at the level of your
Yeah.
patient. So
Yeah.
why? And if technology is so evolving and is so disruptive, why aren't you do the same? Why
Yeah.
aren't you being updated of the new things that your technology is doing, is having? So I have that kind of talk alerts in
Yeah.
in my emails.
Yeah.
I'm following things, and also I went to the events that I could do physically in Lisbon. And in time of pandemic, something very good happening is that you could attend events from the other side of the world,
Yeah.
because they were
Yeah.
uh, to being also to be streamed, so you can
Yeah.
access them. And no matter hours you can do. So if you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and you
Yeah.
take your breakfast, you could be in an event in Australia. So
Yeah.
why? I couldn't go there while I'm taking my coffee at the breakfast and see
Yeah.
what they are
Yeah.
talking about. And it was
Yeah.
very, very exciting.
Yeah.
And I tried to profit this kind, because we were all at home at that
Yeah.
time.
Everyone was
So
stuck in. Yeah.
yeah, and it was very good to have these kind of sources of people and meeting new things that people were doing on the other side of the world with
Yeah.
other questions, and
Mm.
to have your mind also to growing up to new perspectives. And
Yeah.
that's why very, very good.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
I think also not even just the technical side, but also just like experiencing different cultures, how people do things differently. I think
exactly.
also helps your work experience, because obviously you working for a consulting company doesn't mean your customers are only Portuguese. You've got customers all over the world, so
And
it
even in
helped
my
you. Yeah.
consultancy,
Yeah.
I cannot be arrogant enough to say that my project have all the problems and I
Yeah.
can solve all the situations and that I know everything, because
Yeah.
every customer has its challenges. Every customer, and even the same customer, had challenges in the past that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to have some kind of, the way for you to increase your knowledge is being in project, know your boundaries, look what people are doing around you, and also looking what people are around you on other perspectives like peers. So that's the way for you to enlarge. Maybe if you cannot have the technical knowledge of putting your hands on, but you are aware of.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the beginning. You know that someone did something very similar a few years ago, and they talked about this in a similar. And maybe you can go after them and to try to understand what was the challenge that they had at that time. And if you had a similar situation nowadays, to compare what you can go, what you can do. That's something that you can be aware.
Yeah. Yeah. And shifting to the platform itself, you've been working with it for a while now. And there's new features all the time in the platform. Can you talk me through, a couple of features that, either they were already there when you started working with them, or they've been released whilst you've been working with the platform, that you felt has really kind of helped you when you're working on projects that have been kind of game-changing releases?
The last one from the parallel deploys.
Yeah. Okay.
The last, I think it's not last one. It's the two I'm working in 11 nowadays, but I would say that in 11 there was a big disruptive release 1 or 2 months ago with the parallel deploys, and also some improvements then on the lifetime API. So you can control OutSystem from outside with the lifetime API. That's the way they can do, okay, you can be a puppeteer and go to your lifetime API and say, okay, now I want to understand which are the applications on that environment and want to deploy them to them, and to integrate this with any orchestrator of deploys or whatsoever. So lifetime APIs are very powerful, and something that I think that they were missing and they were released and I still didn't put my hands on, but I wanted to. It's something that I think it's more and more increasingly more important nowadays, which is security. And you had a very bad time trying to do SAST or DAST analysis of your code. And in some factory, you have to comply. And even if you are trying to work with sensitive data whatsoever, to have a way to show up to someone else that your code is safe is something that it's hard to do without some conventional tools. So you had to extract your code and to put that code on some, and to analyze that code on some external tools. And with lifetime APIs, now you can do it in an easy way. And there's some tools that are more proper to do it, but they are working hard on this, and that's something that we should be on the front. Security by design is the top of the priority nowadays, and you should design for security nowadays. But for me and for the developers, that I think that something that the platform is really, really good is the visual interaction. Okay. And that's something that I think is better than AI.
Okay.
So
that's a big statement. Yeah.
No, it is AI part.
Yeah.
But it's better than Gen AI.
Yeah.
Gen AI helps you to create code. And I wouldn't be stubborn enough to say that, okay, I will create my code, and my code will stay on that factory, on that client forever. Code will not stay there forever. And I would say that 50% of your code is to build inside, upside, over code that already exists. And that's the magic of having a low-code platform. You can ask ChatGPT to create a code, to create a new query whatsoever. But you cannot ask them, please identify me on this code. What is the things that I can change that will not disrupt the code in production without having mess up and to have the clients complaining for everywhere because I'm changing the code for all. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. You are low code. It's not for a small project, a page whatsoever. It's for bigger companies to comply with their code. And I will not know what is the life cycle how many days will list the code in production, but I wouldn't say that it's so much. You can have legacy code forever, and maybe that's the hardest one to be there, and that's the one that people most respect because, oh, no, that's in production and it's very impactful. So I wouldn't ask to ChatGPT to change code that is very impactful. But I have very impactful code done in OutSystems that I can change. And everyone can change because they will understand what they're there because it's visual.
Yeah.
It's not code to change. Okay. It's not, you don't ask GPT to create to change what is there.
Yeah.
You ask GPT to whisper the code.
Yeah.
I need to do things. So you
Yeah.
shift off your brain,
Yeah.
and you will do what ChatGPT would say, okay? Or
Yeah.
your AI suggestion code will do, and you will not understand what it will do because they're saying you have to do this in a cycle with that way because he had analyzed a lot of code in Stack Overflow or whatsoever on other code sources that have been feeding up the AI, the LLM model engine, but it will not understand the code that I have in my factory. And I have to change this. And I have to change it in a way that I understand and that I can give 100% security and insurance. I can ensure the client, the business, that I will not break up in production. And sometimes it can understand what the code is there, but now the business but now I want to do this. You will have to understand why the code was doing something else before to comply with the business. Look, nowadays the code is doing that. If you want to transition to this without having a disruption, you have to do something like a transition code in the business. You have to comply with deployments. You have to think a little bit. You have to wear the client's boot because he will not like to have a disruption in production, and it will not have. You have to think about churning the client at the end. So that kind of things you can do easily when you are doing low code.
Yeah.
That's readable. It's not code. And when people say to me that, okay, and there's an article about that, a study of Ernst & Young, saying how fast or how faster will be to develop with Copilot. And they say, okay, if you have to generate a simple application, it will be 20% more fast. If we have to do some middle class, it will be 10%, but it is only on the generation of new application. I think that there's no study now in changing the existing code. And I would say that nowadays, changing the existing code or being agile and to shift to changes, you are not the same person that you were 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you have to adapt, and you have to adapt smoothly. You are not looking at the exact moment that you change from A to B. You were changing progressively. And that's what company wants to do. They want to change compressively because they don't want to have a disruptive emotion on clients, and they don't want to have the client to leave them. So you have to adapt smoothly, and that smoothly adaptation has to be done in a way that people and business and tech understand.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And with someone obviously works on client projects, and we try to obviously talk about everything positive about the platform. Is there any frustrations that there's something that maybe the platform doesn't offer, or for yourself, while developing, or customers bring up that, that's something you can talk about that might be being looked into by OutSystems, or in the future it's something they might look into?
OutSystems is now investing more on the ODC
ODC,
platform.
yeah.
And OutSystems do listen to us. So
yes,
there are things that they are prioritizing, and there are things that are on their pipeline. But some of the biggest development and the pretty things are appearing on ODC first.
Yeah.
And we will have to wait for them to appear on 11.
Yeah.
So there are things that, for instance, the theme, the issues regarding the security on client side. They have a lot of things invested in ODC. and even the AI builder, the agents that
Yeah,
are
Asia
doing
builder,
for
yeah.
the agent builder, all the stuff that you can easy and accelerate, they are doing on Odyssey first. So if people are on O11, they will have to wait.
Yeah.
And or even if they will have to have Odyssey in the future, they will have to, most of the clients will have to have the managed instance on their own, because that's something very, very needed for people, big business, the ones that don't want to have disruptions in production. So to have a managed instance instead of a cloud or something else, it's something that people really, really want to have. And I think it is on the pipeline. And I think that sooner or later it will appear, but it's not there. Yeah. So, and having that, and people working in ODC, the platform, it's mostly robust. You can do pretty good things there. But there are people used to O11 and past, they are still missing the things, and they are being incorporated at a rhythm that they would prefer to be faster. But that's something that we have with all the technologies.
It's with all technologies, isn't it? And you're an MVP, OutSystems MVP, and usually that kind of comes with some type of involvement or something you've done. They don't just hand it out as some kind of achievement. Can you talk through kind of why you were recognized as an MVP?
I have a participation on the community. A lot of people access me via LinkedIn or whatsoever. So I'm a visible member. Okay.
Yeah.
The conversion process is something that also influenced a lot of people. So I've been mentoring a lot of people on this. Regarding, I've been working on mentoring processes. Okay. I'm the blank page writer, so I have a lot of things in my mind. I'm still not publishing as I want, but I'm talkative, I'm a presenter, so I'm doing some events, I do things presentially, and I'm doing internally and also externally. I'm the kind of people that on a one-to-one or even a presentation is eager to present. So I've been presenting mostly of the events of OutSystems, and also internally I have a lot of exposition, and also for the kind of edgy. Okay, I'm not the one that only converted to have a job. So I'm converted to do things right. That's something that, okay, I'm not, I really did a conversion, so I wanted to go at the top. I'm not a citizen developer. I don't feel like a citizen. But sometimes when things are very hard and I want to put everyone else down to earth, okay, I'm still a pharmacist. And it's true. I already gave in the office a vaccine because I'm registered. Cool. I'm still registered.
Cool. So
I already had
still,
sometimes I still have the knowledge. And sometimes when they comply with some medicines for antibiotics, because there was some antibiotics running out, to have some mapping of dosages between 2 and 3. I did some kind of thing in a few days. So that I still have this knowledge. But when I used to say that I'm a pharmacist, and mostly to say to people that have IT background that they can do the same. So I'm the kind of people that, okay, I'm a pharmacist, but I like what you do, and to promote the things, and to see also to bring people to the business high from the technical perspective, because I think that when I arrived, the tech people and business, they were a little bit in shock, and they don't they start to find some kind of a liaison in between. And I'm mostly a liaison.
And now that you've been working on years of projects, is there one or two notable projects that you can talk about that you were involved in without mentioning customer names, that you're quite kind of happy to be involved in and successfully delivered?
So we had an insurance project, an health insurance project in the middle of COVID.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So imagine what was the urgency to
I can
deliver.
imagine.
It was something, even it was for a company insurance. It was not a personal. it was directly to company to hire. So it
Yeah.
was something like corporate insurance. And at that time, all of the people that were involved, we went to the bathroom and we put a tattoo of the name of the project there. So we thought,
Really?
so it was very, very painful there.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
very painful. But at that time, it was very the kind of project that you had a lot of boundaries. You have to manage and to motivate and even to go below what you can do in order to go to get, okay, if some kind of Java team are going back, no worries. I will be with you, testing with you, and try to accelerate your way. So the process to adapt in order to deliver on time. Yeah, that's the kind of things that we did. But project was very, very important at that time. And the other one was my first project. I went to public sector, and they are very impactful projects with a lot of people looking at, and with a lot of clients, and B2, it's always to client B2C. And but there are some compliance, some problems with hiring or to adjudication of the project that to comply with some legal rules. And we could only adjudicate the project 15 days before going to production.
Wow.
So without infrastructure, and I was a pharmacist, so I had to manage. So I had to manage to install they had some kind of bad infrastructure. We had to at that time we had to set up a hybrid infrastructure.
Yeah.
Look at me,
Yeah.
pharmacist coming to go there and to help them on that time it was WebEx calls, and there were no Teams, and to be with the directly with OutSystems, helping them to setting up to setting up environments, users, servers. They had bare metal servers at that time. So all that situation and also to manage to be we were only 2 developers, so one of us had to be the analyst.
Yeah.
I was on the early morning the business analyst and start to develop. At the end of the day, I was the tester. So and my tech lead was in Coimbra, which she could not be in Lisbon at that time. So we had to manage, and we were most of the time pair programming too. At that time, we didn't have COVID, but we were pair programming live. It was very funny. And all girls. It was a 100% extrogen project. It was it was very, very all girl project. And it was very, very, very funny.
I could imagine. That's amazing. And since my question is, when you kind of started working on these projects, obviously you still didn't have that much experience, right? So were there any kind of challenging moments that you felt you had to do more outside of your day job to kind of make sure you could manage?
That's something that I also say to people that converts to a career. Okay, nothing is done by luck. You will have to comply with, and you will never know everything when you start to do, because you and people are expecting you to deliver as a normal IT developer is the client. Even if you are questioning by technically doing the things, people on the client will expect you to deliver an IT. So you will have to do a little bit the extra mile on the first time that you are starting to work, because you will always feel behind what you should do or what you should learn, and you will have to do that kind of compliance. They would say that's the growing pain when you are very young.
Growing pains.
That hurts a lot. And when you are saying you start, if you look at that, I was not looking so much at that because I didn't have time. But I look to some people that are doing or were passing through the same that I passed, and I think why I'm doing this, or they are putting this in question. And I saying, okay, at that time I wasn't putting it in question, but maybe if I was feeling like you. But that's normal. You are from a different background, and the other way from you to transform in a butterfly is to have a chrysalis in the same. That's very hard, and people will expect you to pass this phase.
Yeah.
And I think there are not so many people experiencing on that in the market for them to follow people like them. And I think that even people, we can help them and to accelerate and to cushion, but it's almost inevitable.
Yeah.
You have to pass through. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's the worst phase. I would say the worst phase is the one before, when you are
Yeah.
still not hired,
Yeah.
because you are putting you in question. Okay.
Yeah.
That second phase, you don't have, if you are in the process, and you are very focused on what you are doing, you will not feel the pain because you really want this to accomplish and to go to overlap or to the other side. But if you start to put it this equation, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, what you said before, especially now in the current kind of with the way the world IT market is compared to 2 years ago where everyone was hiring. And even
Yeah,
even back then it was hard for someone coming into with no
the
experience.
market. Yeah,
If you look at today is even more difficult. It's there's loads of experienced people being laid off, there. And we come across people who were earning X amount and they'll take less
yeah.
just to get back into work and they've got experience. So that puts the people with no experience it's a real challenge, a real fight to
And
get
they
that
are,
first job.
and people don't want to hire people that
Yeah,
are not well prepared
yeah,
now.
yeah. So it's
So yeah, that's very hard.
yeah,
And
challenging.
people that were in higher,
Mm,
in senior or
mm,
mid-year, they are starting in some conditions because of they want to have a better
yeah,
schedule. They want some, because now you have another constraint, which is people going to the office too.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
So, and there are people that were working remote with some seniority,
yeah,
and between going remote and in a lower position or going 2 or 3 times to the office, there are
mm,
people that are preferring, because they have kids or whatsoever, to
yeah, yeah,
go a
yeah,
little bit down. So
yeah,
concurrency now it's being a little bit different than it was
yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely. And you're obviously, like you said, you've never worked in traditional, you've just been a low code person, in your whole
yeah.
tech career. And as like, there's this, you know, there's a lot of people who still kind of don't believe in low code and think, it's not for large scale enterprise projects, So what would be your message to those people who still think,
Okay.
who don't respect low code and think, traditional development is the only way?
I would say that from these people that were working remote and they prefer a lower position to go there, and there are a lot of people that came from higher position, mid or senior, from Java and
Mm,
.NET, that between going to Java mid and going to the office and going to low code and doing the things by low code, they are preferring going into low code.
yeah.
Entering is very easier. And that's something that even OutSystems is promoting. Okay, if you look, that's something OutSystems have, that kind of programs for easily incorporate people from other technology, and you can do this in 2 weeks. It's
Mm,
very easier for them to convert. Okay, that's the path that they have. They can convert them directly because the mindset in programming is the same. Okay,
yeah.
and I don't know any small company working with systems. I would say that here in Portugal, most of the biggest company are working without systems. So, and when I started to work, I think, okay, that's something that only big companies are working.
Yeah, yeah,
That was my
yeah,
mindset, because I
yeah,
was
yeah,
out of the prospect. Something
yeah,
like, okay, that's I would do, but it will not manage for all the people. And then I took care, and I took the knowledge that it was not only for Portugal, it was for all the
mm,
world. We have
yeah,
big companies working with low code and doing pretty big things. Mostly, you will still have the possibility to do hard code, because there are not so many low code technologies that allows you to extend the code.
yeah,
And I think that OutSystems is one of the fewest that can do it. And you can extend with your Python whatsoever, your .NET code, if you do mobile with your plugins. Okay, so you can do, and maybe that's where you will fit in for that
mm,
complexity that sometimes people like me that will come from the other technology will never do.
mm,
So there's a lot of lack of people with that knowledge doing the extra mile on coding, extending the platform. And most of the big companies do extensions. They don't do only OutSystems, they do
Yeah.
extension, and they do that kind of liaison with .NET. They want to extract codes coming from emails. They want to extract code they will do extensions with .NET, okay?
Mhm.
They want to do pretty big things with AWS. You have some accelerators in OutSystems, but if you want to customize your codes, and maybe that big companies will want to, because they don't want to comply with code that someone else has done,
Yeah.
you will have your role then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
That's amazing. Yeah. And as a kind of final question, and I know you're doing mentoring and things like that already, what's some kind of any personal aspirations or goals that you have that you're looking to achieve in the near or further future?
I'm not very ambitious girl.
Okay.
So I would say stay in the technology field,
Yeah.
and that's keeping being myself, being
Yeah.
very curious and do the
Yeah.
things. And for me, technology has a main purpose. It has to serve someone. Okay.
Mm.
So until it will serve someone, for me, it's okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the big things. Serving other people, that's the mentorship that I'm doing now. I feel that, okay, IT business is mostly for English-speaking people.
Mm.
And I found out that people from Spanish, French people, and even Portuguese from Brazil, they have hard time to understand something that is very
Yeah.
easy to understand.
Yeah.
And that kind of boundaries help me for them to break the barrier, the language barrier, and to know fabulous people working in other countries, working with technologies in other challenges, and to know what they are being done, also to have other point of views from the other countries. It's very, very funny, and to share also their perspective
Yeah.
and for me, it makes me a bigger developer too.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. It was great to talk to you and hear your journey, which has been very interesting. And really, I think people will be really interested to hear and how you went through the weekly tests and got through and you made it. You didn't get cut. You didn't get cut from Big Brother, and here we are.
No. I went to the hospital and came back, so it
Yeah,
was
exactly. Yeah,
okay.
you made it. You made it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate it, Helena. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Feroz.
Thank you for listening to today's episode, which is brought to you by iTrack. We are a leading staffing firm that solely specializes in supplying both contract and permanent low-code professionals to organizations globally. Navigating the niche landscape of the low-code market requires the best talent, and we recognize its critical importance for our clients. Whether you're a company looking to strengthen your team, an individual seeking the next career move, or someone entirely new to the world of low-code, we're here for you. Our extensive experience and in-depth market knowledge enables us to quickly pinpoint the ideal candidates while offering expert advice and support at every stage of your low-code journey. Reach out to us through our website or connect with me directly on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to assist you. Thank you once again for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another insightful episode. Until then, take care.